Most of the world lost something in the last 50 years and never stopped to notice it was gone. Malaysia still has it. And the moment I understood what it was, I couldn't unsee it anywhere else. I want you to think about the last time you were somewhere that felt genuinely alive. Not impressive, not beautiful, not Instagrammable. Alive. The way a place feels when it has been inhabited deeply, when the walls have absorbed decades of the same conversations, when the street knows what time it is without a clock, when the people moving through it are not passing through but belonging. Most people, if they're honest, have to reach back pretty far to find that feeling. Because something has happened to the world's cities over the past half-century. Something quiet and incremental and almost impossible to name while it's occurring. A kind of smoothing, a flattening, the gradual replacement of the specific with the generic, the local with the global, the grown with the built. Walk through the center of almost any major city today and you will find the same coffee chains, the same glass towers, the same retail brands, the same airport lounge aesthetic applied to neighborhoods that used to have a different personality entirely. The world has been renovated, and the renovation, however gleaming, removed something that cannot be reinstalled. But here's what nobody tells you. Not everywhere surrendered to it. Some places resisted. Not through policy, not through preservation orders, not through conscious effort, but simply by being too layered, too complex, too stubbornly themselves to be fully smoothed. Malaysia is one of them. And what it held on to is the thing I'm going to spend this entire video trying to describe. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment "I subscribe" below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. Let me start with something concrete. I was in Kuala Lumpur on a Wednesday morning with nowhere to be. I walked into a part of the city that doesn't appear in most travel guides. Not Bukit Bintang, not KLCC, just a neighborhood. Old shophouses with the paint doing what paint does over decades. Not peeling dramatically, just settling, becoming part of the texture of the wall. A drain running along the 5-foot way. A cat sleeping on a motorcycle seat with complete conviction. I found a coffee shop that had no sign I could read. Walked in. Plastic chairs. Marble-top tables worn smooth. A ceiling fan doing its slow work. An uncle behind the counter who didn't look up when I entered because people entering was not a remarkable event. I sat down. He brought coffee without being asked. It was the right thing to bring. At first I thought nothing of it. Nice local spot. Authentic. The kind of thing travelers seek and rarely find because the act of seeking it tends to destroy it. But then I started watching. Over the next hour, a parade of ordinary life moved through that coffee shop that I have been thinking about ever since. A Malay man in his work uniform stopped in for 15 minutes, exchanged 4 sentences with the uncle, left the exact right amount of money without counting it. A Chinese woman in her 70s sat at the corner table with a newspaper she'd clearly been reading in that corner for years. The uncle brought her order before she spoke. 2 Indian men conducted what appeared to be a serious business discussion over 2 hours and 4 refills, switching between Tamil and English and Malay mid-sentence without pausing, without translating, without making it a performance. A child wandered in from the street. The uncle gave her something sweet. She left. Nobody looked at their phone for the first reason. Nobody performed anything for anyone else. The room had its own rhythm, established long before any of us arrived, and we all simply fell into it. And this is where things get interesting. Because I've sat in coffee shops in London and New York and Tokyo and Paris and Johannesburg. Good ones. Serious ones. Places with reputations and queues and very precise brewing methods. None of them felt like this. And I couldn't immediately explain why. Here's what I eventually understood. The coffee shops I'd been to in the rest of the world were experiences. Carefully designed, intentionally curated, built to produce a specific feeling in the person consuming them. The atmosphere is an output. The warmth is a product. Even the imperfections, the exposed brick, the mismatched chairs, are chosen imperfections. Deliberate authenticity, which is of course not authenticity at all. That kopitiam in Kuala Lumpur was not an experience. It was not designed. It had not been open to provide anyone with a feeling. It had simply been there. Continuously. doing the same thing it had always done, for the same kinds of people, in the same unremarkable way. The warmth was not a product. It was a residue. The accumulated warmth of thousands of ordinary mornings that had happened in that room before I arrived and would keep happening after I left. That's the thing the world has lost. Not coffee shops specifically. Not even places specifically. The residue. Let me explain what I mean by residue, because this is the center of everything. Modern cities are obsessed with newness. With the next district, the next development, the next concept. Old things are replaced not because they are failing but because they are old, because newness itself has become the value, the signal, the proof of progress. And every time something old is replaced with something new, a specific kind of information is destroyed. The information of use, of time, of the thousands of small negotiations between a place and the people who inhabit it that, over decades, produce something that cannot be reproduced from scratch. A street that has been a street for 100 years knows things. It knows where people want to walk and where they don't. It knows what businesses survive and what buildings matter. It knows the rhythms of the neighborhood in a way that no urban planner, however brilliant, can fully replicate in a new development. But here's what nobody tells you. Most of the world has been demolishing that knowledge at an accelerating rate for 50 years. In the name of progress, efficiency, development, growth, all real goods, all worth pursuing, it has been systematically destroying the accumulated intelligence of inhabited places and replacing it with something newer, cleaner, and significantly less wise. Malaysia, imperfectly and incompletely, has not. I went to Penang, and Penang is the clearest argument I've found for everything I'm describing. Georgetown is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Yes, but the designation is almost beside the point. What matters is not that the buildings are old. It's that the buildings are still in use. Still inhabited by the same kinds of communities that built them. Still doing, in modified form, what they were built to do. A Hokkien Chinese clan association that has been operating in the same building since the 1800s. A Hindu temple wedged between shophouses that has held its ground through a century of urban change around it. A street of traditional medicine shops where the remedies have been passed from father to son for 4 generations. Not as tourism, not as performance, but as a living business serving a living community. This is not a museum. That's the critical point. A museum preserves the dead. Penang is preserving the living, the continuous thread of human practice that connects the present to the past without severing it. At first, I didn't fully grasp how rare that was. Then I thought about what had happened to comparable places in comparable cities around the world. Demolished, redeveloped, turned into luxury condominiums or boutique hotels or mixed-use lifestyle precincts that reference the history they replaced without actually containing it. That's when everything changed. I want to be honest about something. Malaysia has done its share of demolishing too. KL has its glass towers and its malls and its developments that could exist in any city in any country. The pressure to modernize, to grow, to compete is real, and it has left marks. And yet, enough survived. Enough of the old streets, the old coffee shops, the old clan houses and temples and market spaces. Enough of it survived that the thread is still intact. The connection between now and then is still legible. You can still walk through a Malaysian city and feel the presence of the people who lived there before you in a way that changes how you understand where you are. That is not a small thing. That is, increasingly, one of the rarest things on Earth. Here's the deep realization, the one I've been building toward. We talk about development as if it has one direction. Forward, upward, toward the new. And we have built an entire global consensus around the idea that the places furthest along that trajectory are the most successful. But there is something that only comes from staying. From not clearing the ground every generation and starting again. From allowing the layers to accumulate until the place itself becomes a kind of record, not just of architecture or history, but of what it has meant across many different kinds of people to be human in this particular location. That record is irreplaceable once it's gone. You cannot rebuild it. You cannot simulate it. You can reference it, sample it, brand it, but you cannot reconstruct the real thing because the real thing is made of time and time cannot be manufactured. Malaysia still has that record. Imperfect, incomplete, still being written. Most of the world has already shredded it in pursuit of something newer. And most of the world has not yet noticed what it lost. I'll leave you with one image. The uncle in that kopitiam, at the end of my hour there, wiped down the marble table with a cloth that had probably wiped down that table 10,000 times. Not dramatically, not slowly, just efficiently. The way you do something you have done so many times that it has become part of the texture of your day rather than a task within it. He didn't look at me when he did it. I was just another person who had sat there. One of thousands. One of a long, unbroken line of ordinary people who had needed coffee in a chair and a place to be for an hour without anyone asking why. The world used to be full of places like that. Most of them are gone now. Malaysia still has them. And I think, somewhere underneath everything else, that's what the rest of the world is looking for when it can't name what it's missing. I want to know if you felt this. The specific loss I'm describing, the absence of the residue, the smoothed-out feeling of a world that keeps replacing itself. And I want to know if you found it anywhere else. Any place that still has it. Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this kind of thinking, slow, deep, looking underneath the surface, is what you want more of, subscribe. There's more coming. And it only gets truer from here.